Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
Officials mark the opening of the 2018 legal year.
We get reaction following the latest U.S. advisory calling the fish fry unsafe.
Heavy rains bring flooding to low-lying areas of New Providence. Find out what one vulnerable area's residents have to say.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Topping news tonight, Acting Chief Justice Stephen Isaacs today denounced critics who have slammed the judiciary for not doing enough to combat crime. Isaacs, who made the comments during the opening of the 2018 legal year, defended the court, saying they are doing their part despite what some may say. Jasmine Brown reports.
During his speech, the acting chief justice did not hold back as he defended the judiciary and its role in the fight against crime.
Amidst all the pageantry and celebrations, the judiciary is at the heart of a vexing social problem that is plaguing our nation, the rise of violent crime. The courts are all too often the focus of negative chatter in this regard, insofar that many believe that it is the courts alone that is responsible for addressing the expanding criminality that we see all around us.
But Isaac says the fact of the matter is the courts are only involved after all the other agencies. He also insisted the courts get a bad rap when it comes to the fight against crime, but members of the judiciary are working hard.
We are doing our part and great effort has been expended to discharge our role. We work in silence as we are prohibited from making public comment and addressing the misconceived notion that we are causing crime to rise.
The acting chief justice also pointed to the fact that there are 10 criminal courts and a lot of resources put into dealing with criminal matters.
Most of our judges sit on the criminal bench in response to the rise in crime. There are 10 criminal courts in operation, and if you juxtapose that to the huge number of indictable offenses committed during the course of a year, such as murder, manslaughter, armed robberies, and rape, among other trials where an accused person may select trial by jury, you will begin to see the task at hand, but we soldier on.
He admitted that as a result, civil matters are sometimes left unattended, a practice he says must end.
The fact that so much of our judicial resources are committed to the national effort to bring crime to heel naturally means that litigants with issues of a civil nature will experience an expanded lapse between filing claims and getting to trial. That issue is an unintended consequence of the focus on crime, but we expect to address it in short order.
Now, while he defended the courts, Isaacs also empathized with the police. He called their efforts exhaustive, saying they're kept busy day and night fighting crime and at the same time have to attend court to give evidence. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, a former president of the Court of Appeal is slamming political interference in the judiciary after it was confirmed that Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis would make good on his promise to expunge the records of those charged in regard to destroying a Cabbage Beach fence in 2016 if they are convicted. Christina Dragovich has the details.
Dame Joan Sawyer expressing her serious concern over political interference in the judiciary as the Prime Minister continues to weigh in on a matter before the courts. Even worse, Dame Joan telling our news that this is not the first time she has seen the office of the Prime Minister inserting itself in the actions of the judiciary.
I am concerned whenever a politician gets on his high horse, or bishop or priest or whoever gets on his high horse and try to interfere with the judiciary. I'm seriously concerned. Remember, don't forget, I was the one who called out Allison and Perry when they said they will what is it? Release the documents or unseal the documents, which was sealed by a judge. That was far more releasing the Kraken than what Minnis is saying.
Dame Joan was referring to comments made by then Prime Minister Perry Christie in regard to the sealed Baha Mar documents, which begged the question of whether the Prime Minister or then Attorney General Alison Maynard Gibson were controlling the courts. Well, today, Dame Joan echoed concerns voiced last year, noting that while Dr. Minnis made a promise to those individuals while in opposition, as Prime Minister, he should not weigh in on a matter before the courts now that he is in office.
In fact, to say that if you go to the court and you're convicted and we're going to wipe the record clean is to tell the court, don't waste your time, don't hear the case. You can't do that either.
Rather, she says Attorney General Carl Bethel should be the one to comment on legal matters. Well, our news team put the question to Bethel this morning. However, he refused to respond. Meanwhile, Dame Joan says she's more concerned about ignorance surrounding the law.
You know, what really bothers me about this, the government of this country from 1967 is that there's been no attempt to educate our people on their legal duties and their legal responsibilities. Their rights they talk about, but they don't do as if the rights are absolute. They're no absolute rights.
Reporting for our news, I'm Christina Dragovich.
Attorney General Carl Bethel reaffirming the Minnis administration's plans to carry out its ambitious legislative agenda. The AG made the comments at the ceremony to mark the opening of the 2018 legal year as he gave an update on several key pieces of legislation.
Of course, the cornerstone of our efforts was the new constitutional amendment bill, the purpose of which was to create an independent Office of Director of Public Prosecutions and to devolve the prosecutorial powers of the state, hitherto vested in the Attorney General, to the Director of Public Prosecutions. This bill has now passed both houses of Parliament, is in the process of being gazetted, and it is proposed that the appointed day notice will be towards the end of this month.
The AG also revealed there are plans underway to create 2 new courts, one to deal with civil and family matters and the other to deal with sexual offenses and domestic violence. Bethel also shared these 2017 statistics.
Of the 78 murder and related offenses prosecuted in 2017, 54 resulted in guilty verdicts. Last year, there were 231 VBIs served. Finally, Mluds, the backlog of cases disposed of during 2017 by way of the noli prosequi was 31 nolis prosequi entered, compared with 96 in the year before.
Bethel says the drop in nolli shows this administration's policy is to use the power of a nolli a little more sparingly and only in cases that are hopelessly beyond prosecution. The U.S. Department of State issued a Level 2 travel advisory for the Bahamas yesterday, warning U.S. citizens to exercise increased caution when visiting the country due to crime. Today, Giorgio Bain visited one of the locations mentioned in the report to get reactions.
We get reaction from the Ministry of Tourism and from some stall owners here at the Fish Fry after the U.S. State Department's advisory calls the area unsafe. The advisory reads, violent crimes such as burglaries, armed robberies, and sexual assault is common even in daylight hours and in tourist areas. It also warns tourists to avoid the sand trap and over-the-hill area and jet ski operators, which it states are known to commit sexual assault against tourists, including minors. Today, Deputy Director General of the Ministry of Tourism, Ellison Thompson, called the advisory unfortunate.
You know, it's been a very popular venue for visitors and Bahamians alike. People go and they enjoy a very safe time and have, a great, authentic Bahamian experience.
The Level 2 warning advises U.S. citizens to exercise increased caution when traveling and to be aware of heightened risks to safety and security. Thompson says representatives of the ministry will be meeting with officials from the U.S. Embassy.
Well, I actually just saw that a couple of minutes ago, and I really want to contact the embassy to find out exactly was there an incident that happened as to why this particular advisory was issued. Because at the Fish Fry, the security is there. We have a police station on premise, so I need to really understand what their challenge is with it.
Manager of Fish Central, located on the Fish Fry, Samuel Roll, called the advisory foolishness, and he said there is no safer place for tourists and Bahamians alike than the Fish Fry.
Everybody's saying things, but this area is not safe. I've been on Fish Fry now over 15 years, and I never seen nothing happen with tourists getting robbed or tourists getting this or tourists getting that at the Fish Fry. Okay, so it's a bunch of foolishness. Okay, because you have the police station right there and everything on Fish Fry. You know what I mean? Fish Fry is a nice Bahamian place where tourists can come, sit down, and relax, and get good meal, friendly people, and all that at Fish Fry.
Owner of Curly's Restaurant and Bar, Vince McDonald, says he agrees with the latest advisory and demands that something be done.
We only respond or react when things like this happen. The police has been reliably informed on an ongoing basis at Fish Fry that the predators, that this is a habitat for criminals. Habitat. I ain't asking you. I'm telling you, they were informed, and they talking about they got police station. Yeah, they got police station. Ask them how many police are manning that station, and where they do. Very seldom they walk about. Every day we show them and we call them and let them know and show them the activities that are going on.
Willard McKenzie, the owner of Andros Hideout, says he isn't sure why the advisory is warning tourists not to come to the fish fry at night because the fish fry is almost completely new. He's urging visitors and Bahamians not to be afraid to come out and support local businesses.
You know, you have some stall out here have like almost about 55 to 60 people higher employed, you understand? Fish fry is safe, and I would like to see that the tourists even comes out on fish fry. When was the last time you hear any incident ever happen on the fish fry? So this rumor's going around. I don't know where it's coming from, but let's stop trying to destroy one another and let's work together and make the Bahamas a better place.
Reporting for R News, I'm Georgie O'Bain.
3 straight days of rain have left the capital soaked, slowing down roadways and inconveniencing pedestrians. The flooding impacting the usual suspects, including the Pinewood Gardens area. Jared Hicks tells us more.
3 days of rain and thunderstorms didn't only put a damper on majority rule celebrations, but also brought with it lots of flooding to the multiple low-lying areas across New Providence. Jacaranda Street in Pinewood Gardens was certainly feeling the pain. The street was knee-deep in water in some parts, virtually impossible to pass in a small vehicle. Milton and Tina Hepburn have lived on the street for nearly 2.5 years. During last night's heavy rain, the water was beginning to settle in their home.
A while ago, we couldn't even get out of the yard. You know, the water was all up in here, and like when the traffic passed, you know, just rush everything into the house, you know. But mainly, we had no big water damage inside, only from the leak on the side of the roof here. Like last night, we had to yuck out everything, put all the furniture on top of one another to secure them.
With heavy rain forecast for tonight, the married couple isn't optimistic.
It can be worse.
Yeah,
it can be more rain like what we had for the past 2 days. It's going to be worse.
You have to bring out the sandbags to put to the door so that the water don't come inside. That's what we're going to have to do.
Other residents, some of whom have lived in the area for more than 20 years, say the government needs to come in and clean out the drains and do whatever it takes to solve the issue of flooding on their street. Eloise Davis has lived on Jacaranda Street for nearly 20 years. She says she sometimes regrets buying her home and feels neglected by politicians whose job she says it is to improve conditions for the people they represent.
Ain't nobody doing nothing with nobody to Jacaranda Street. When election time, everybody come, oh, I know what the problem is and everything. I'm going to fix it and everything. And after that, bush crack and man gone. Ain't nobody doing nothing with Jacaranda Street. Any little rain and everything. You see down by my gate? That's a drain there. All they have is an empty hole. Nothing. When it rains, the water come through the floor. Man, ain't nobody doing nothing for nobody. That's why when it's election time, I won't see nobody coming around me talking about voting for what? They ain't doing nothing for us, man.
She says several of her neighbors have had furniture damage as a result of water in their home.
It didn't really make no sense buying furniture and everything. Everything going to be destroyed and everything. It make no sense, man. And nobody doing everybody pretty enough everything. Come, we can do this for you, do this for you, and then they ain't doing nothing. I don't see nobody coming around me.
Kyle Newbold is another long-time resident.
We done changed a number of rocks. Yeah, water, tires soak up from the flood, everything. That has happened. The water do that. Massive bed, rest of all the rocks. Time almost covered the socket, the light socket. Man, rain, water come over the light socket, and that thing is dangerous.
Margaret Roll thinks if they stop neglecting the drainage system, their conditions will improve.
They don't come and clean the drain when they're supposed to clean it, and that's our problem. That's how come the corners get so flooded like this. You know, we need the drain to clean when it's supposed to clean on a regular basis, so we won't have this problem.
With persistent showers expected tonight, the Hepburns and their fellow Jacaranda Street residents say they'll endure the storm, but they need some help. Reporting for R News, I'm Jared Higgs.
There is no clear timeline as to when we can see upgrades to the drainage system in New Providence. Today, as motorists avoided streets flooded with water, Works Minister Desmond Bannister told R News government is awaiting recommendations from the experts to fix the vexing issue. The torrential rain may be welcomed by some, but to many others, it could spell a hard time on the road or even at home. This as flooding continues to be a major issue for people living in certain parts of New Providence. Areas like Pinewood Gardens, South Beach, Fox Hill, and even East Bay Street, all prone to flooding within minutes of heavy rainfall. The issue is nothing new, and it appears it will be one for a while. Here's why.
I want to be able to have appropriate solutions, and it may take a little while to do it, and then it's going to take a whole lot of money to do it. So the press and people keep asking me how soon. I can't tell you how soon. The only thing is, when I find a solution, I want to have an appropriate solution that's going to make a difference in the lives of Bahamians.
A major fix to Nassau's drainage system, according to Works Minister Desmond Bannister, will no doubt cost a pretty penny and will take quite some time as engineers work on a solution. He said while government awaits a plan from engineers and the professionals, the most that can be done is keep the current drainage system clean.
In many of the areas, other than perhaps Pinewood and Bel Air, if the drains are cleaned properly and kept and maintained, then there will not be a flooding issue. Those persons who are contracted, we have to look at very carefully and ensure that they live up to their obligations.
In the very near future, he said additional drains will have to be installed in areas like Carmichael, where in the Bel Air area, there are only 5 drains when there really should be 14. And when it comes to an area like Pinewood Gardens, the wait could be longer as the plans previously worked on by the Christie administration, according to Bannister, have been scrapped.
The solutions that have been provided before do not provide an adequate protection for residents of Pinewood. So it doesn't make sense seeking to implement them at a cost of millions of dollars and not getting the kind of results we want to get. So we're trying to do it properly. We have the engineers engaged, and as soon as we can get some appropriate results, or we're going to be able to work on it.
Overall, he said one can't point fingers just yet, as flooding didn't just begin in Nassau. Still to come on our news, the Green Giants document the success of their solar car team. Plus, an upcoming festival showcases all things Bahamian. That's coming up when our news returns.